Listen closely, because what I'm about to say is not for the faint-hearted or the comfort seekers. This is for the warriors in the shadows, the ones burning with a fire that refuses to die, the ones who've been broken, shattered, and left in ruins, only to rise again with a vengeance so fierce it can't be contained. This is for you who have set off a bomb in your own world, unleashed chaos in your own mind, and called it a response. Who dared to take destruction and wear it like armor, who decided that the old rules no longer apply. Before I go deeper, if you feel the weight of these words, if your spirit catches fire with the truth I'm about to unleash, don't just listen. Commit. Hit that subscribe button. Let this be the place where your broken pieces start to burn bright again. Like the voice inside you that screams for more, press like, and share this with every soul who's been told they're too much, too loud, too broken to rise. Because here, in this darkness, we find our real light, and you're not alone anymore. So subscribe, stay close, and let's walk this dark path together, where pain is a fuel and silence is a lie. Now, look around. Who the hell told you that first? Who planted the seed in your mind that destruction is something to fear, that chaos is the enemy and not the battle cry of those who refuse to be controlled? You set off a bomb, a violent, thunderous explosion that shattered what you thought you were, burned down every fragile expectation, and left nothing but scorched earth and raw truth. And you called it a response. But ask yourself, was it really a response? Or was it the only thing left when everything else had failed? Because sometimes the world hands you a match, lights the fuse and says, "Now, watch what you do." But here's the brutal honesty no one dared to tell you. The bomb was never about the world. It was about you. It was the fury inside you that refused to be buried alive, the voice that screamed so loud it couldn't be silenced by lies or broken promises. When you set off that bomb, you weren't just responding. You were reclaiming your power from a place so dark it almost swallowed you whole. And that is terrifying, even to yourself. Because when you explode like that, you lose everything that once made you feel safe. You lose the mask, the facade, the carefully constructed illusion of control. You lose the version of yourself that people wanted to believe in. And suddenly, you're left standing in the rubble, bleeding, raw, exposed, naked in your own destruction. That's the moment most people run. They pick up the pieces, sweep the dirt away, and pretend nothing ever happened. But not you. You look at the crater you made, the fire you ignited, and you do something most never dare to do. You lean in. You stare into the abyss, and instead of falling, you reach out your hand and pull yourself higher. Because you understand now that the bomb, the destruction, the chaos, they weren't the end. They were the beginning of something real, something fierce, something unapologetically yours. Let me be clear. This is not about destruction for destruction's sake. It's not about violence or pain or chaos without purpose. It's about transformation. It's about burning down the old self that was shackled by doubt, fear, and expectation, so the new self can rise from the ashes, scarred but unstoppable. You took the pain, the anger, the betrayal, and instead of letting it bury you, you turned it into your weapon. That's dark power. That's real strength. If this fires something inside you, if your spirit is aching for that kind of ruthless honesty and relentless drive, don't just let it fade into silence. Hit like, share your story in the comments, let your voice be heard. Because your darkness is not a curse. It's your crucible. Your pain is not a weakness. It's the fuel that will launch you into the life you were always meant to claim. Subscribe, stay connected, because this journey doesn't end here. We are just getting started, and trust me, the world has never seen anything like what you're about to become. The truth you've been avoiding is this: setting off a bomb is messy. It's terrifying, and it often feels like you've lost control. But here's what the so-called experts won't tell you. Control is an illusion. The moment you try to keep everything neat, tidy, and predictable, you give away your power. Real power is chaos. Real power is destruction and creation happening at the same time. It's the wild storm inside you that refuses to be caged. Who the hell told you that first? The world? The people who benefit from your silence and compliance? They want you to stay small, quiet, and predictable, because that's easy to manage. But you shattered that illusion with your bomb. You said no to their rules, no to their expectations, no to the lie that your worth depends on their approval. You detonated the cage and walked out into the unknown, ready to build something new from the ashes. But here's the hardest part. You will feel lost. You will feel broken. You will feel like the monster everyone warned you about. Because when you destroy everything that once defined you, there's a void. A silence so loud it threatens to swallow you whole. But that silence is not empty. It's waiting for your voice. It's waiting for your truth. It's waiting for you to decide what comes next. And you will decide. You have to. In that moment of destruction, you become the architect of your own destiny. You are the only one who can choose what rises from the rubble. Will it be fear, regret, and bitterness? Or will it be power, clarity, and purpose? The bomb was your declaration that the old world is dead. Now, your future is forged in the flames you created. This is your chance to be brutal, raw, and unapologetically real. This is your chance to stop playing by the rules of others and start writing your own story, one that no one can ignore, silence, or erase. Remember this: no one else gets to define your destruction or your response. No one else gets to tell you what kind of fire you should set off or when you should do it. That choice was always yours, buried deep beneath layers of doubt and fear. But now it's uncovered, blazing bright like a signal fire in the night. And if you're brave enough to answer that call, you're already winning. So when the world asks you to explain your explosion, your chaos, your bomb, don't apologize. Don't explain. Stand tall and say, "This was my response. This was my power. This was my awakening." Because it is. It's the rawest, darkest truth you'll ever own. And it's beautiful in its terrifying honesty. If you felt the heat of this fire, if your soul is screaming for freedom and power, then show me. Hit like, drop a comment. Tell me how you set off your bomb and what it revealed to you. Share this message with those who need to hear that destruction isn't the end. It's the first breath of something new. And subscribe. Stay with me, because the darkness we walk through together will only make us stronger. The real story begins now. When you set off a bomb and called it a response, you shattered not just your environment, but every illusion you once clung to. You tore apart the walls built by expectation, by comfort, by lies disguised as truths. The people around you, the voices you trusted, they trembled at the sound of that explosion. Not because it was loud, but because it was real. And realness terrifies those who hide behind masks. They want chaos to be a warning, a tragedy, a mistake. But you know better. You know that bomb was the only language left when silence became unbearable and compliance became death. Who the hell told you that first? That destruction was something shameful, something to regret, that responding with fire meant you lost control? Number. The moment you lit that fuse, you took control for the first time. The ones who whispered to you that peace meant submission were lying. The ones who told you to forgive and forget without healing were cowards. Because peace without power is nothing but a cage disguised as freedom. Forgiveness without boundaries is a surrender to weakness. And forgetting without understanding is a death sentence for the soul. You set off that bomb because you refuse to stay quiet. You refuse to carry the weight of broken promises and toxic love silently. You refuse to pretend that scars don't ache or silence heals wounds. And yes, it hurt. It ripped you apart. It burned you from the inside out. But pain was never your enemy. It was your fuel. You used it to light the fire inside you. The fire that will never be extinguished by those who think darkness means defeat. Look at yourself in the mirror now. See that face staring back? The one no longer afraid to burn everything down just to feel alive? That is your truth. That is your power. And the world can't handle it because they've never seen someone survive their own apocalypse and emerge stronger, fiercer, more unbreakable than before. You are the storm they feared, the chaos they couldn't control, the bomb they begged to never explode. And now that you have, there's no going back. If you feel that storm raging inside you, if your soul aches to break free from the chains of doubt and fear, don't let it fade away. Subscribe now, because this isn't just a speech. It's a movement, a rebellion against everything that told you to stay small, to be quiet, to blend in. Like this, share it with the broken, the lost, the warriors in the shadows who need to know they are not alone. Let's light 1,000 fires and watch the darkness tremble before our collective power. You are part of something bigger now, something unstoppable. Subscribe and keep this fire burning. The bomb you set off was more than just an explosion. It was a reckoning. A moment when everything you believed in collided with everything you needed to become. It was the violent birth of your real self, the shedding of the old you who lived to please, to hide, to survive without living. And yes, it was messy. It was ugly. It was everything the world told you not to be. But that mess is your liberation. That ugliness is your truth. That chaos is your power. You might think you've lost everything in the blast: friends, trust, hope. But what you've truly lost is the cage that held you captive. The chains of expectations, the shackles of other people's definitions, the bindings of your own self-doubt. When a bomb explodes, everything is laid bare. Nothing can hide beneath the rubble, and in that clarity, you find yourself. You find a freedom so fierce it makes the night tremble. The world will try to convince you to apologize for that bomb, to clean up the mess, to act like it never happened. But don't fall for it. The mess is sacred. The aftermath is your battlefield, and every scar is a medal earned in the war for your soul. You are not responsible for the chaos that others fear, only for how you rise from it. And rise you will, like a phoenix, not because you are untouched by fire, but because you have been forged by it. Who the hell told you that first? That your rage was wrong, that your response was too much, that your bomb was unjustified? They don't see the years of silence before the explosion, the nights spent swallowing pain until it turned toxic, the moments when breaking down seemed easier than breaking free. They don't understand that sometimes, to be heard, to be truly alive, you have to set the world on fire. Not because you hate it, but because you refuse to be buried under its weight any longer. If you hear that voice in your head telling you to hold back, to tame the fire, to quiet the explosion, No, that voice is a liar. The only way forward is through the blaze. So hit that like button if you're ready to stop hiding. Share this with someone who's on the edge, who needs to hear that their explosion is not their failure, but their awakening. And subscribe to stay connected to this fierce tribe who understands that sometimes, to rebuild, you must first burn it all down. You've been living in a world that demands you pretend, that expects you to perform, that punishes you for being anything but normal. But normal was never your destiny. The bomb you set off was your refusal to conform, your declaration that you will no longer shrink to fit into a world made for others. And that kind of courage is terrifying. It shakes the foundations of everything and everyone around you because it exposes the lie that safety comes from silence and submission. But safety is an illusion. True safety comes from owning your power, even when it burns you. True freedom comes from embracing your darkness as fiercely as you embrace your light. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are not too much. You are a force of nature that cannot be contained, tamed, or silenced. Look at the destruction you caused and realize this. That bomb was not the end of your story. It was the spark that lit your new beginning. It was the first roar of a soul that refused to die quietly. The ashes are your foundation. The ruins are your canvas. And the fire inside you is the paint that will create something no one else dared to imagine. So own it. Own your bomb, your chaos, your response. Don't apologize for the noise you made. Don't apologize for the power you unleashed. Because in that moment of destruction, you found your truth. And that truth is louder, stronger, and more alive than any voice that tried to silence you before. If this hits you, if your heart is pounding and your spirit is rising, then don't let this moment pass. Hit subscribe, join the movement, and share your story in the comments. Your voice could be the bomb someone else needs to hear to finally explode their own chains. Together, we are the darkness the world feared and the light it never saw coming. The question isn't whether you set off a bomb and called it a response. The question is, what will you do now that the explosion has changed everything? Will you hide in the ruins, or will you build a fortress so unbreakable it shakes the very earth beneath you? Will you let fear silence you, or will you roar louder than ever before? The choice is yours, but remember this: the moment you exploded was the moment you truly began to live. You think you've been punished for setting off that bomb, don't you? You believe the fallout, the shattered relationships, the cold shoulders, the whispers behind your back are consequences you must carry like a cross. But let me tell you something no one else will. Those consequences are not your punishment. They are the cost of your freedom. They are the price you pay when you refuse to live by someone else's rules, when you choose to break the cycle instead of perpetuate it, when you decide that your voice, your truth, your existence will no longer be a whisper, but a scream that echoes through the void. Every shattered piece around you is a testament to your courage. Every friend who turned away is a reminder that not everyone was meant to walk this path with you. Every door slammed in your face is proof that your explosion was necessary, that you disrupted the status quo enough to force change. You did not set off that bomb to make everyone comfortable. You set it off to make yourself whole. And sometimes that means losing the comfort of the familiar, the warmth of the accepted, the illusion of safety. But here's the brutal truth. Safety is death. Safety is the grave where dreams go to rot. And if you're still breathing, still burning, still raging inside, then you owe it to yourself to live outside of that grave. You owe it to yourself to keep exploding, keep breaking down walls, Keep tearing apart the lies until only your truth remains. Because that truth, your raw, untamed, unfiltered truth, is the most dangerous weapon you have. And it's the only thing that can set you free. Who the hell told you first that you had to be small, to be loved? That your fire was too fierce, your anger too wild, your pain too much? Those lies are the shackles you set fire to the moment your bomb went off. And now, every step you take forward is on ground you've scorched yourself. No one else can walk this path for you. No one else can carry this fire. It's yours, and yours alone. So when the world tries to make you regret your explosion, remind them that you are not the monster here. You are the liberator, the revolution, the force of nature that refuses to be ignored. You didn't set off that bomb because you wanted to hurt others. You set it off because you could no longer carry the weight of their silence. You exploded because you had to survive. And surviving means breaking every rule, shattering every expectation, and walking through the flames until you emerge unrecognizable, even to yourself. If this truth hits you hard, if it burns through the numbness and makes your heart race, then don't just nod and walk away. Like this. Subscribe. Share this message with everyone who's been told to be quiet, to settle, to shrink themselves until they disappear. Because this is your sanctuary, your tribe, your battlefield. And together, we will rise from the ashes, louder and more unstoppable than ever before. Join us. Don't let the fire die out. Keep it burning. The bomb you set off was the rejection of a life half-lived, a lie told so many times you almost believed it. It was the refusal to play the victim, to stay silent, to accept less than what your soul demands. It was the eruption of everything bottled up: anger, grief, betrayal, hope, and an unrelenting will to survive. You called it a response, but it was much more. It was a declaration that you are done being small, done being hidden, done being anyone else's idea of who you should be. And now, after the smoke clears, you stand in the ruins, not broken, but reborn. The question is, what will you build? Will you rebuild the walls that trapped you, or will you build bridges over the chasms your bomb created? Will you let fear convince you to silence your voice, or will you use your roar to bring others out of the shadows? Because this explosion is not just about you. It's about every person who's been waiting for someone to light the fuse, to shake the ground beneath their feet, to say enough is enough. You are that someone. The one who dared to burn the script, rewrite the rules, and redefine what it means to be alive. And yes, it's terrifying. Yes, it's lonely. Yes, the world will push back harder than ever because you threatened its fragile illusions. But you are stronger than their fear. You are fiercer than their doubts. And the fire you carry inside cannot be put out by anything but your own surrender. And surrender is not in your nature. So stand tall in your destruction. Own your explosion. Because from this chaos comes your true power. From this darkness, your fiercest light will shine. And the world, whether it's ready or not, will have to reckon with the force you have become. If this resonates with you, if it makes your blood boil and your spirit rise, don't wait. Subscribe, like, share your own story of breaking free and setting off your bomb. Together, we will be the voice for the silenced, the strength for the broken, and the light for the lost. Because in the end, the only thing more powerful than the bomb you set off is the fire you choose to keep burning long after the smoke is cleared. So now you stand in the aftermath, alone but not empty, surrounded by smoke and silence and the raw, weight of everything you've destroyed, and still, you do not bow. You look at the ruins and understand, finally, that you were never meant to survive in that old world. You were meant to remake it. You were never meant to live quietly in someone else's shadow. You were meant to burn bright enough to blind them,